Well, as parents, it often feels like we're fighting with the messages that Hollywood is sending our kids. That's certainly how I often feel. My friend Dean Batali is a Hollywood writer who's familiar with that feeling himself. Former executive producer of that 70s show, he says Hollywood does indeed have a lot of control over what we watch. Take a look.
There is a feeling that Hollywood knows better than others. There's a feeling that it's Hollywood's responsibility to push kind of a social agenda because we know the way the world should be. So they tend to preach their beliefs without really even realizing that others might not agree with them. Now, there's the argument of, well, this is what the audience, if the audience wants these things, then why do they put up with these other beliefs? Well, the reality is there's not much choice. If I'm going to go to a blockbuster that maybe is a anti-patriotism blockbuster, well, I still want to see the special effects, or I still want to see what's going on. Or if I'm going to go to a drama that happens to have premarital sex in it, well, but it's still a great performance, and there's just not a lot of options. And so, what's interesting is even the people who don't agree with the values being put forth by Hollywood tend to consume a lot of Hollywood's stuff.
Well, as I said, that's a friend of mine, Dean Batali, talking about how tough it can be in Hollywood.
Absolutely.
Now, April, for a second here,
yes,
I want you to pretend you're not co-hosting this program. I'm the host, and I want to interview you. Why?
Okay.
Because you're a Hollywood actress.
I am.
Some folks know you from, what were you, in Little House on the Prairie? Just kidding.
Yes.
No, you've been, you were in, we're in a number of, TV programs, movies, and things like that. This is your world. This is not theoretical. Mm-hmm. So how do you, as an actress, how do you deal with that? Does your faith affect the roles you pick? What do you do?
Oh, my faith definitely affects the roles that I pick. I turn down a lot of things sometimes, and it's very hard because at the end of the day, I still have a family to feed, and that's just the honest truth. And sometimes when you see actors who make these choices, it's so easy to judge them and say, oh, look at them, look at what they're picking. But when you have a home and mortgage that you have to pay for, sometimes you have to do those jobs that aren't the best. Now, I was offered a recurring role on a show, and it was very heavy content, and I had to play a character that I knew would probably have to do things that April would not be okay with.
We can't say what the show is on the air.
I won't say the show. I won't. Yeah, I won't. It's because it's still on now.
Privately, I know it was Green Acres. And there was some nasty content.
There's a lot of things going on.
But all joking aside, this is a show most people listening, they would know the name of the show.
Yes.
It's either on Showtime or HBO. We can't say. But it's a big show.
It's a big show.
And for any actor or actress to get offered a regular role, how do you turn that down?
You have to really think about it and say, okay, God, I'm making this decision. Help me out here. And once again, I think it's just knowing. I always tell actors, I do workshops all the time, and I tell actors, know from the beginning, whether you are a believer or not, know what you are willing and not willing to do. Mm-hmm. If you set that in the beginning, then you won't feel bad. I can go to sleep at night, and also I'm a married woman. I love my husband. My marriage is the most successful thing in my life. And being a mother. So I think about all of that. I think about that. I have a 13-year-old niece who looks up to me, and that keeps me in check.
Yeah.
And some people run away from that, and they don't want to be the role model.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to run away.
I've had a lot of friends, living in New York City, a lot of friends who are actors. And one thing I will say, just to get super spiritual for a second, if you know God, He will make it up to you somehow. Even if you lose money, He'll make it up to you. But when you try to do the right thing, when you just try, and so I want to commend you. And I have to say that, Dean talks about this in that clip, the whole idea of Hollywood being an insular community, where they don't know, many of the folks in Hollywood have no clue. They don't know anyone who goes to church or has any of the values that maybe church people have. And one funny story, more than 25 years ago, when the song We Are the World came out, I will never forget this. You had every star in the world, right? It was written by like Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson, and you had everybody singing, whatever. And there was one line in there. I can't believe it. It was Willie Nelson sang his famous line, "As God has shown us by turning stone to bread." And I heard that. I said,
I love
what?
that.
Rewind. What?
Yeah.
Willie Nelson said, as God has shown us by turning stone to bread. Like anybody who has a cursory knowledge of the Bible knows that Jesus didn't turn stone to bread, number one. Number two, whose idea was it? Satan? Yeah, he's a bad guy, by the way.
Sorry.
And the fact is, nobody in Hollywood, they didn't pick it up. And I said, this is hilarious. You've got like rafters full of stars. You've got producers, Quincy Jones, everybody. Nobody picked up that this is not true. And it just goes to show you, it's almost funny how out of touch they are with, you know, the Bible, with those kinds of values and things. So I found it hilarious, and I'll never forget that. Every time you hear that song, you know, you can be reminded.
Now I want to listen.
I want to listen to it. Anyway.
We'll be back with more. Don't go away.